What is intelligence? Is it acing a math test, solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, or building rockets to Mars? We think we know it when we see it. But defining intelligence? That's a different story. From ancient philosophers to modern neuroscientists, no one seems to agree on one universal answer. Yet, how we define it shapes how we treat others, how we educate, how we lead, and even how we understand ourselves. Today, we embark on an exploration that spans psychology, neuroscience, evolution, education, and philosophy to ask the big question: what exactly is intelligence really? And why does it matter more than ever in the 21st century? This is Bright Discovery, where curiosity meets clarity. Let's start with something provocative. Intelligence is like obscenity. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. Or do you? Think of the people you consider intelligent. Maybe they're good with words, quick with numbers. They think critically. They speak persuasively. They learn fast. They solve problems. But here's the twist. These traits don't always show up together, and they don't even guarantee life success. So what are we actually measuring? The modern study of intelligence began in the 1800s with a man named Francis Galton, Darwin's cousin. Galton believed intelligence was inherited and measurable. He also believed smarter people had faster reaction times. Spoiler, that idea didn't really hold up. Later, psychologist Charles Spearman noticed something important. Children who scored well in one subject often scored well in others. He proposed a mysterious factor called general intelligence. It wasn't a skill, it was a capacity, a kind of mental energy that powers learning, logic, memory, and reasoning. And it kicked off the IQ revolution. IQ tests were originally developed to help children in school, not to label people for life. But they quickly became tools of judgment. Tests like the Stanford Binet and Wechsler measured vocabulary, memory, and problem solving. The average IQ was set at 100. Scores between 85 and 115 were considered normal. But over time, IQ became everything used to sort students, hire employees, even justify racist pseudoscience. The trouble is, IQ measures some types of intelligence but ignores others. Can it measure creativity, empathy, street smarts, musical talent, emotional resilience? Not really. That's the limitation of a number trying to define a mind. Enter psychologist Howard Gardner. In the 1980s, he proposed a radical idea. There's no one intelligence, there are many. His theory listed linguistic, word smart, logical mathematical, number smart, musical, sound smart, bodily kinesthetic, body smart, spatial, picture smart, interpersonal, people smart, intrapersonal, self smart, naturalistic, nature smart. The takeaway: being a genius in one area doesn't make you a genius in all, and not fitting the school mold doesn't make you unintelligent. So what happens in the brain? Studies show high IQ individuals tend to have more efficient brain networks. Their brains use less energy to solve the same problems. Speed, memory, and adaptability play key roles. But here's where it gets interesting. We used to think intelligence was mostly genetic. Now, we know it's a blend of genes, environment, nutrition, trauma, and even education style. Your intelligence isn't fixed. It's shaped over time by everything from parenting to sleep to how curious you are. Yes, you can become smarter. Neuroplasticity proves it. The history of IQ testing isn't just scientific. It's political and sometimes dark. In the early 20th century, IQ tests were used to exclude immigrants, enforce eugenics policies, and label children unfairly. Certain ethnic groups were called less intelligent based on biased testing methods. The legacy of that era still echoes today. Even now, some critics argue that IQ tests are culturally biased, favoring Western norms of knowledge and reasoning. That's why intelligence should never be treated as destiny. It's a dynamic capability, not a verdict. Let's return to Spearman's G. Today, neuroscientists say G reflects the brain's ability to handle cognitive complexity. That includes working memory, learning speed, attention control, mental flexibility. But G isn't everything. It can't capture the richness of human ingenuity, nor the ability to improvise, relate, or understand meaning. So where does creativity fit? Where does wisdom? We're starting to realize that intelligence isn't just about thinking, it's about thinking well. Different cultures define intelligence differently. In many African societies, intelligence includes social responsibility, not just cleverness. In Eastern cultures, humility and harmony matter as much as IQ. In Western nations, speed and logic dominate. This proves intelligence isn't universal, it's contextual. A kid who seems slow in one classroom might be brilliant in another environment, and people we underestimate may have strengths we don't value yet. We've long believed humans are the smartest creatures, but intelligence shows up everywhere in nature. Crows can solve puzzles, octopuses escape aquariums, elephants mourn their dead, chimpanzees use tools, dolphins have names for each other. And some animals seem to adapt better to complex environments than humans do. So intelligence isn't human only, it's a survival trait. It evolves in species that face challenges and overcome them. Which leads us to a surprising theory. Why did human intelligence evolve? One theory is social selection. As our social groups got bigger, we needed better memory, communication, and emotional reading. We had to remember faces, track relationships, predict intentions, negotiate, manipulate, empathize. Brains evolved to navigate society. Another theory? Scarcity. Brains got smarter in environments where food was rare because smarter animals survived. There's even a theory that intelligence evolved as a side effect of language, a tool so powerful it reshaped the brain itself. Today, we live in a world where intelligence is more important than ever, but also more complicated. With AI rising, we must ask, what makes human intelligence unique? It's not speed, or memory, or calculation. It's imagination, morality, creativity, consciousness. Our future may depend less on IQ and more on how we handle nuance, ambiguity, ethics in each other. That's not just smart. That's wise. So what exactly is intelligence? It's the ability to learn, to adapt, to reason, to understand, to reflect, to solve, to grow. But it's also the courage to rethink, relearn, and stay curious. It's not a test score, it's a lifelong process, and it looks different in every mind. If this changed how you see intelligence, let us know in the comments. What kind of intelligence do you think matters most today? Give this video a like. Subscribe to Bright Discovery and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next deep dive into the science of who we are. Thanks for watching. And remember, what you know is just the beginning.